Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And today I'd like to show you how I made this card. This is one, it can almost be part of the Fast and Beautiful series. I'm going to add a little bit more paper to it this time. This was kind of a prototype. This card was inspired by this card layout. For our team swap this month, this was the card layout that was selected, and this is my interpretation of it. When you do a card layout, it really is an inspiration on how you can do a card, perhaps, and give you some new ideas or shake your thinking a little bit differently to maybe put something together differently than you have before. And this one turned out to be kind of fun. So on the front it says, "So glad we are friends," and on the inside, "I'm so glad you're a part of my story." I just love both of those sentiments. Now the stamp sets that I'm using are Incredible Like You. This is where I got the "So Glad We're Friends." Then Part of My Story. I'm so glad you're part of my story. And so those are really good, lovely sentiments, this one. Know that today a friend is thinking of you. I can think of 3 people I should send that one to. And so here is my product that I put together. And let me show you what we need to make this card. I have all of my little pieces in here. We need a Whisper White base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and on one end scored at 1 inch. Now if your card is going to fold this way, then you want to open it and score this one this way, because we're going to fold this piece back. And in order for your paper to do well, you need to have that scored so that you can flip it in the right direction. Looking for my bone folder here, and here it is, without tearing your cardstock. And so I'm going to burnish both of those and get that all ready to go. And then we have this beautiful Painted Seasons paper from Sail Abrasion, and we need 3 pieces of pattern paper. 2 that are the same and 1 that coordinates. Actually 3 that are the same, I guess. This piece is 1 1/4 by 5 3/8. This one is 2 inches by 5 3/8, and this one is 7/8 of an inch by 5 3/8. I saw something similar to this layout. It was the folded back piece, I guess, that I saw on Connie Stewart this week. And so I want to give a shout out to her, because that's where I got the idea to fold this piece back. Then I have here another piece of this floral pattern paper, and it's 3 inches by 3 inches. And I used the 2 middle dies from the stitched framelit dies that we have, the circles, and I just taped them together, put them on here, because this is what I was looking for, the little circular frame. Now I also have this cute little circle that has a stitched edge around it that I'm sure I can find something to do with later. All right, that's all of the pieces. I'm using one of our pearlized doilies, and then I have a piece of scrap of Whisper White to cut out my sentiment, and then I have a piece of Grapefruit Grove here, and so we just need a scrap there to cut this piece, and I honestly don't remember what that piece is. It is 2 inches by 4 inches would be, yes, 2 inches by 4 inches, and so we'll get that piece out of here. All right, so let's just get started. The very first thing I'm going to do is to glue this piece of paper right down here. Since it's going to be the piece in the center, I want to get it set so that I can match my margins on all of the other pieces. And I am putting that down today with just a little bit of snail. Let me move my pieces out of the way here. And put my paper down on my silicone mat here and put down a couple of stripes of glue on the back of my pattern paper. This one is so simple really, because once you have your pieces cut out, it's pretty much a little bit of stamping and some assembly, and it is actually the result of this I'm really pleased with. I think it came out really well, and I think it's going to look a lot richer. This original piece I put on the back was only 1.5 inches, and on this one I made this piece 2 inches, and I think that's going to make a real difference here. And in fact, I may let it stick out even a little bit further than tucking it in the corner. On the one here, I just tucked it in the corner, and here I think I'm going to let it stick out of that corner by about 1/4 inch, so that we get a lot of that paper to look at it. It's so pretty. And so the last piece of pattern paper here, I'm going to put some glue, out of glue. I'm going to put some tape runner on here and put in place on the inside of my card. Again, giving that same amount of border all the way around, and there we go. That creates quite a nice look, I think. All right, now on this, what I'm going to do is add snail, lots of snail, and since this is my dot runner and I've run out of my other glue, I'm going to put lots on because I want that to hold down there really good and tight. And there we go. I've got those 3 pieces put on my card. Now what I'm going to do is do my stamping. And I use, because these flowers have this beautiful dark brown center, I'm using Early Espresso ink, and I have my 2 stamps here. The first one goes on the inside of the card. I'm so glad you're a part of my story. I thought that was just a lovely sentiment. Lovely to send someone to let them know how warmly you feel about them. So I'm going to put that down here. I'm so glad you're a part of my story. And you can write your little sentiment also on the inside. I'm going to leave that open for a second while that dries. All right. So I have my scrap of paper here, and I should put down my silicone mat because this one is a photopolymer. Let's see, I just need this on my scrap and my ink. So glad we are friends. This barely fits, and what I did was I cut it out on a 2-inch punch, but it's close enough that I really wanted that round look. So I'm going to stamp this here. Kind of a big stamp, so you want to put lots of pressure. And there we've got our So Glad We Are Friends. And I have my Early Espresso pen here. There's a dot or 2 missing, and I just want to fill those in so the sentiment is just the way I want it, and that's all the touch-up it needs. Okay, so now I have my 2-inch punch, and I'm going to punch out my sentiment here. Actually, I'm going to punch it so that it's a bit towards the top here because I think it fits a little bit better. Okay, so we are next at the point of needing our Grapefruit Grove piece. So I'm just going to cut off a 2-inch strip here and then trim that down to 4 inches. And there we go. It's a plain piece. I thought about putting a little bit of stamping. There's some little interesting stamps in this stamp set that you could get a little background, but I've decided against it. So what I'm going to do is add some dimensionals. My card back here. And the next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and put this piece down on the card. And we'll see if my idea of having a bigger piece of the floral on the front really works. But I think it will. All right. So here we go. And I'm going to add this piece centered pretty much from top to bottom. And I usually don't press down very hard until I'm pretty sure things are straight. There, that looks straight to me. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is add my ribbon, and I have some of this pretty satin ribbon that is the Calypso Coral that matches the colors perfectly in here. And I started a piece across here, and then I'm looping it back and forth behind all of this instead of adding a bow or doing a more predictable ribbon piece down here. And so I'm not exactly sure how much I need, so I'm going to just leave it on the spool while I figure this out. Now, let's see. This I can go ahead and add to this. So I'm going to add lots and lots and lots and lots of snail on the back of my medallion here. And center that as best I can on that piece. And then I'm going to add this little piece here. So I'm going to add tape runner on the back of my circle here, and then put that into place around my sentiment. There we go. And then, so that I can test to see just how big this is and where I need this ribbon started. I think I need it started about here. So what I'm going to do is put down a little row of tape there, and I'm going to add that ribbon so that it comes almost to the edge there, and then I can loop that around. And let's see, I had it come down about like that, I think. So I'm going to put another bunch of tape across this way so that my loop on this side comes close to the edge but doesn't necessarily go over. And then I'm going to loop this, let's see, I want that maybe a little bit more straight across, and then loop this down so this bottom piece can come all the way to the end. And I think that's going to be a little bit better than the way I had it on the first one here. So across here, but before I cut anything, now I'm going to fit my medallion on here. and see what I think as far as placement is concerned. It looks like it's a little bit further to the bottom than it is to the top, but actually I think that's okay. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to use my snips to cut my ribbon here at a little bit of an, whoops, didn't get much of an angle on that. I'll have to do that again. At a little bit of an angle there, and then I know that this piece could go right on top of there. Now I'm going to take this off and add a little bit more snail so that ribbon will stay down pretty securely. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just add lots of tape runner. And I'm going to use the Stampin' Up! Tape runner. It is a little stronger and holds a bit better. I mean, all of the tape runners certainly have the things that they're particularly good at, but this one is good because it's got solid row of tape. Okay, so we're going to put this one down right in here, more centered, I think, than the other one was. See if my sentiment is straight, and there we go. Lots of last minute fiddling there. Okay, so there's my card. Now, the last thing I have to do is put some of these pretty little Grapefruit Grove embellishments on here. And I have those here, and I put one of the largest ones on the bottom here, and I think that helps fill that in. Then I scattered just a few around, some of the medium-sized ones, and I do think having more of this card or this paper showing here makes a bit of a difference. I like it a lot better. So one down here, and then I put a little one right up here in one of these little starbursts there. And that is it. That is the card finished and my project for the day. So these are my swaps for March for my team. Nobody's going to be surprised when they get them now. But thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And or you could join my team. The join offer right now through the end of March is $175 worth of product for $99. It's a heck of a deal. Plus you get then access to all of the perks of being a demonstrator, which includes, to start off with, a 20% discount. And so the prize draw for the month of March is the Wonderful Romance Bundle, stamp set and die set. So that's it for me today. I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Bye!